Barb Fish, I'm the president of the council, chairing the meeting tonight in the absence of our mayor, Harry Buck. Let's do the roll call, please, Christina.
Fish,
Here.
Johnson. Here. Jorgensen. Here. Cole. Here. Lawrence.
Here.
Steen.
Here.
Mayor Buck.
Thank you. You've got the agenda in front of you. We're going to be taking off E3, which is subdivision construction agreement with Aspen Ridge, and also taking off F3, agreement for upsizing utilities. And we will have executive session after the meeting for contract negotiations and litigation. So if I could get someone to approve that amended agenda.
So moved. Second.
And motion and a second for the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And then we have several sets of minutes, if you've had time to review those.
Would move to approve. Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the minutes from August 17th, August 21st, and August 28th. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we've got the minutes done. Trying to keep up with Harry and get through the meeting. Yeah. I'm already behind. All right, guys, snap it up a little bit. All right, approval of claims, please.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second to approve the claims. Any questions on those for staff? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, got the claims. So this brings us to the time of the consent calendar. If you're already on the agenda for an item, you can certainly come up and speak to it at that time. But if you have something else that you'd like to present to council, we'd be happy to hear you. We'd like to ask you to come to the lectern and give us your name and address, and limit it to 5 minutes. So do we have anybody here to speak to council tonight?
Hold on. I think you need to vote on the consent calendar.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Yeah, okay. I skipped over them. Okay, keep all of that in your memory. That's the rules for the next part. Okay, wage adjustment for Brian Carter.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, all right. Sorry about that. Okay, now, anyone to address the council? Okay. Okay. So we will move on to a public hearing, the first reading of ordinance 692, rezoning tract 2 of Aspen Park.
This is rezoning the property that the city owns at the south end of Main Street that includes a detention pond between the railroad tracks and Lakeview Drive from NRC to institutional. It's just part of another tract that we're trying to get to institutional zone that the city owns.
Would move to approve.
We've got a motion and a second to approve first reading of ordinance 692. Any discussion or questions on it? We're just trying to move all of our city property to institutional, is that correct? And so it's just kind of a process to get it all moved? Yeah. How much do you think we've gotten done so far? Okay. It's in progress. Okay. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. No old business. Going on to standing committee reports, the golf course, and a quote on page 23.
I'd move to approve on this one. Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve buying some doors for the golf course. Any discussion? I think Andrew explained that they're odd shapes and you had one bidder and...
These are the cart shed doors.
Oh, these are the cart shed
Got
doors.
some pictures in there for you, starting on page
Yeah, this is
26.
This is different.
this is the cart
different.
shed doors.
Okay.
Yeah, just bringing this to you since we're already over budget on the item. So make sure you get approval for you guys. It would be the bottom one for $4,995. They've got a little better insulation, so we are protecting a lot of expensive equipment with those doors.
Okay, we had a motion and a second, right? Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, get some cart doors, Andrew. All right, Parks and Rec, we've got the Parks report, we've got the inspection report, Police Department report. I don't think we have to do anything on any of those, correct? Okay. We're moving on to the budget. Okay. So we've been working pretty diligently on the budget. I think we've had 3 extra meetings to work on the budget, and so it's come before us today. As a council person, I'm not the mayor, so as a council person, I can make a motion and I can also vote. And so I'm going to make a motion on the budget, and I would like to approve the 2024 budget with the removal of line item 4194, which is $350,000 architecture fees from the third penny sales tax. And I would look for a second if anyone is so inclined.
I'd second that.
All right. So we're going to have discussion. Since I have the microphone, I get discuss first. I've had a real issue with this part in our budget. Everyone knows it that's been working on it. We have a large infrastructure need in Brandon, and when you have a growing community, it's difficult to finance some of those projects. And so staff has been great. They've done a great job on the budget, and I appreciate everything that the managers, department managers have done. And they shared with us, you know, the projects that we're looking at, and we're looking at $179 million. Now, that's in a perfect world. It's not going to all obviously happen, probably ever, but it's a large number. And so my concern, I have 2 concerns on this issue. The first one is that I don't think we can cash flow it, because it looks like a $600,000 to $800,000 cost for 20 years, either a bond payment or a lease payment. If revenues hold up and our people continue to shop locally and they stay steady or increase, I would certainly be willing to look at it in a year. And then the other thing I'm concerned about is that we talked about doing a lease purchase, and the reason is we didn't want it to go against our bonding capacity. You know, payment might be similar, maybe it's a little higher, but when we take those architecture fees out of the third penny sales tax, we're front loading it, and I think that that cost should be included in the lease and built in that way, because I know that the justification is, or one of the justifications is that we would control the architect. Well, in my mind, when we have a contract, they're building the building for us. Lisa is a very good attorney, and I think she can make that contract as tight as we want it. And I think we can be prepared for that, and we've already spent $12,000 for a space study. So we know what we want, and we know what we need. So I don't see any point in throwing that money out there. So I would like to just leave that money in the third penny sales tax for future development.
Yeah, and I guess that my thoughts on this thing is that we know we need to do something with this building, that we've seen how much we're gonna have to spend on putting, quote, a Band-Aid on this building. But obviously, at the same time, we see all the expenditures, one that we've done over the last, since basically, it looks like 2017, the amount of money we've spent on infrastructure in Brandon, which much needed. But at the same time, right now, costs are just through the roof, and we see that, man, we don't have a lot. We're already having to take stuff out that we wanted to do in our future plans because costs are through the roof. So I'm not opposed to City Hall at all. What I am, I guess, opposed to at this point in time is putting it in a budget, because we've been a part of budgets. We know budgets. We know if we put any money in there, we're going to spend it. And I know we can say that we'll be fiscal and about it, but if it's in the budget, we're gonna do our best to probably just spend it. And so I would just say, to our constituents, that we want to be, good stewards of what we have. And right now, I just don't feel like we can afford it. And so I would support this current motion.
Right, and I would just kind of, oh, go ahead, Dave.
Right, and from my perspective, I guess I would kind of echo what Colin said a little bit, but, you know, the city staff team does deserve a good working environment, I get that. You know, I certainly appreciate that myself, especially with our police department. I mean, the PD has some rough working quarters over there. But right now, as we look at the projected budget numbers that we received earlier this year, you know, there's a point in time not too far from now where we're in the red. And I don't feel comfortable right now burdening the residents and the taxpayers of Brandon, and honestly, future council, right, with a deficit budget. That, to me, until we can see what sales tax revenues are really going to do with continued growth and continued business expansion here in Brandon, I would not be supportive of tearing down this building and building something new right now.
I would agree with the three of them, actually. I kind of look at this historically. We, I don't know, 6 years ago spent, what, $250,000 to do a park master plan that has been sitting on a shelf ever since. It was $25 million when it was proposed. I'm assuming it's a lot more than that today. So we have this plan that is not going to go anywhere. So it's basically the same thing that we're going to do with this. Now, in my experience with construction, if you hire a contractor to build you a building, that is who is representing you in the construction of that property. To have some mediary in between seems like an added step that doesn't need to be done. So I don't necessarily see why we are spending this money. I've given lots of ideas over the years, all of which were very unconventional to try to help solve this problem. I get that they're unconventional, but the last time I checked, we live in a very unconventional city. We don't collect the tax dollars that other cities do. The greatest example of that was at a strategic planning meeting last week where this company came in and showed us that us in Harrisburg had about half the sales tax revenue of Spearfish. Spearfish is an hour from Rapid City. We're 10 minutes from Sioux Falls. It's just the reality of our situation. We either have to learn how to operate inside of it, or we're going to go broke otherwise. It's just unfortunate, but that's the way it is. And I do believe that we have more significant infrastructure problems to take care of throughout the town. And so this is not something, and you know, this was not exactly the number one thing on our CIP list. We spent a lot of time on that, and I feel like this was somehow slid into something that we didn't necessarily discuss. I remember 3 or 4 years ago when all the council toured all of the city properties, the mayor at the time actually suggested, why don't we build a new public works building? It seems to be the easiest and quickest thing that we could actually accomplish. I don't know what happened to that, but here we sit. So anyway, I think I would support what you're going to do.
Roll call vote. Fish. Johnson. Jorgensen. Call. Lawrence. Steen.
Second reading works.
So, basically, no.
Okay, moving along to resolution 1623, dissolving the TIF district.
This is TIF number 4 for the Rovang Industrial Park. The Brandon Development Foundation financed those improvements. The TIF was put in place to cover their infrastructure costs if sales of property didn't materialize, but virtually all of the property is sold. Their debt is defeased, and we can get rid of the TIF district.
So we just need a motion for that?
Move to approve. Second.
And we got a motion and a second to dissolve the TIF district number 4. Any discussion on it? Tim, do you have anything since you've been involved with?
Well, we sold a bunch of land, so we made a bunch of money, so now we don't need it.
Okay.
So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, great.
Not bad for a board that pays to be on it.
Yeah, you do, don't you? Okay, we got a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving on to the work report on 87. Raleigh's group. McCarty Bridge project, can you help us out with that one, Tammy?
Yep, change order number 2 just zeroes out the quantities, so it adds a little over $400 to the contract price. And then it also gave the contractor an extension of about 10 days. So their completion date was August 11th, and they were done before that. And then the pay application is the final one.
Do we have to do those separately, Brian, or together? Do them separate? Okay, so we need a motion on the change order number 2, please. Okay, motion second, discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, then pay application number 2, which is on page 891.
Second.
Motion is second to approve pay application and final number 2. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Right. And we took off the subdivision. Okay, so then we're going to resolution 1723. Got a motion and a second to approve Brian to the Dakota Mainstream Board with Tammy as the alternate if Brian's not able to go. Could you just tell us what Dakota Mainstream is?
Dakota Mainstream is the newer version of Lewis and Clark. It will take Missouri River water and transport it east in a pipeline to serve member communities. This is just the very start. They're trying to get things up and running to meet the October 1st deadline for funding from the state on the project. So this will name their initial board of directors. It's, if I remember correctly, it's about a 40-year project. So,
40 years?
yep.
Okay, any discussion on that? We've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
It's open for other volunteers. No?
Everybody's
Just
hand
wanted
went
to
up.
throw it out there.
Bruce, I knew you wanted to get on that. I know you do. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And then the water meter replacement project.
This is advertising for bids. Every year, we're, well, for the past 4 years, we've been replacing about 400, 500 water meters. This next year would be 402. And it is in the budget, or it will be in the budget.
I'd move to approve. Second.
And a motion and a second to approve the water meter replacement project, advertisement for bids. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, no new business. We are going into executive session for contract negotiation and litigation. Hey, did I beat Harry's record?
Good effort, though.
What? Need a motion? Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.